Hello and welcome to episode 36 of Lost and Chronologically Lost, where we finally get to whack Locke.
Yeah, well, Locke had some choices here. And
Some very bad choices.
and it's not even like they're character flaws that are deep within him. Like, okay, you could call the whole go north thing like a Locke character thing. Some of the other stuff he does, he was just stupid for the plot.
Oh, I don't think it's stupid for the plot. He knew what he was doing.
You think?
Oh.
No, I mean, no. Well, one thing, yeah. Another thing, really stupid.
Okay, well, we'll see. So
Yeah.
we actually begin this episode at a pretty sad scene of Hurley basically recapping the plot to Libby's grave.
Yeah, it's just... It really, like, shows, in case we needed a reminder, like, how bad the situation is right now. That's, like, people have died, half of their leaders are gone. And, yeah, it's really fucked up that Michael would do that. Did I mention, like, before where we got the Michael stuff with Tom that, like, did I mention that I don't expect Michael to live after that?
I think you alluded to it, but...
Well, I definitely don't, because, I mean, that seems like it'll be his consequence.
Yeah. So then we see, a scene of Charlie shaving, which I like that they threw that in even still in season 3 now that the hatch is gone, just to be like, oh, this is why they don't all have, full beards by this point.
Yeah. I mean, they have the razors, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, he cuts himself because he's Charlie, and Hurley basically says, you know what, you dying is probably my fault due to the curse. Which, I don't actually know about that. Because, like, other people have died, and I don't think they were all because of the curse. The only difference here is that we know about it in advance.
Yeah, I've seen some funny things, because way back in the season 1 stuff, when Hurley was also dealing with his thinking about the curse thing, what happened was, Hurley goes across a bridge, and then Charlie goes across a bridge, and it collapses as he goes on, and Hurley saves him. And so some people were like, oh, what if that was also like the first time that it was saving Charlie from dying way back in season 1? Like, it's not the case, clearly, but some people were thinking that if it was tied into the whole curse thing.
Huh.
Yeah, anyways, what do you think the flashbacks were for this segment?
Oh, well, I know for sure that this had Hurley as a kid and his dad not fixing up the car with him.
Yeah, it was all the stuff with Hurley's dad.
But, yeah, so I guess it also had his dad coming back when he was rich.
Yeah.
Alright, well, that fits pretty well because it's like, it's about believing on whether or not things can get better. That ties in pretty well to Hurley's arc here.
Yeah.
And of course,
what's also
fixing up
funny,
the car.
though, is, just in reading some of the trivia, obviously his dad is played by Cheech Marin. But, funny thing is Sawyer references the actor Cheech Marin himself in one of his nicknames. So it's like,
Yeah,
that's
I
a funny
remember that.
thing. That's like, it's not even like a degree of separation there. That's 0 degrees of separation in that sense.
This guy just is a Cheech lookalike in story.
Yeah. So
Anyway, so yeah, Vincent is here with a human hand. That's kinda gross and rotten.
yeah, but it turns out to be the severed hand of Roger Linus, as it turns out, still in that Dharma van.
See, I'm like a little bit of a silly goose, so I was like, who is this guy again? Roger, do I know
It's
the
Roger
name? Is
Workman.
this someone from the 70s arc? And then I was like, oh yeah! Oh yeah, Ben killed him in that van. Like, I saw the car and I was like, do I know this car? We saw, like, Jin driving a car like this during the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And then it hit me that I literally saw his death. And it's like, so that flashback with Ben, that would have been...
That was to explain why there was
this. Which,
a van with a dead guy at the top of a hill.
I didn't know that was an answer, but now that I see the question and the answer, that's, well done by the show. That's not like, this is not one of those questions that they gave a cop-out answer to. Like, good answer.
Yeah, it's not only was it a good answer, it was an answer that actually led into an entire other storyline that you wouldn't have even expected.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we see
then
Jin
we get,
is trying to learn English, which is cute to see.
Sun is trying to only speak English to him, which the thing about that is that everybody else also only speaks English, so I feel like he's already kind of gotten that immersion thing.
That's true. It's basically this is where he starts to actually learn English. This is why in season 5 he can speak English.
Yeah. I think I mentioned during season 5, I'm sure it was good for the writers to have him be better at English, because then they could actually give him communication with other characters, and I think they already started that plan here.
Yeah. So
anyway, Hurley's like, I got a car, let's fix it, and you can definitely see in like the acting that he's still sad. He's just kind of using this to prop himself up, but everyone else is like, they don't care because they suck. But he just signs Jin up for it. Because Jin is a bro.
Yeah, I did like Paulo's reaction of like, why do we need a car though? Like, they...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, my whole thought throughout this is like, is this car even gonna work? Does it have the tiniest amount of gas left? Has the gas gone bad? I don't know.
So, we then cut to Kate and Sawyer walking in the jungle, and I have a whole thing of Kate being like, well, we can just like start over, which is the most frustrating thing to hear when it comes to romantic triangles.
Well, even earlier in the conversation I wanted to mention how she's like not looking forward to explaining why only 2 of them are coming back, and then Sawyer's like, they should explain why no one came looking for us, and I'm like,
they didn't know where you were. Come on.
Well, you were on another island for all you know they did.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we have the clean slate thing, and it's like, gotta have that love triangle status quo after they fucked. Also, Sawyer's a dweeb who references Little House on the Prairie.
Okay, I have to call BS here because, okay, so for one, Sawyer says that the trailer he lived in only had 1 channel. Now, in his flashback, I'm going to say that room looked bigger than a trailer room, but also that could just be Hollywood, Hollywood set designing again.
Well, I thought maybe he had mono after that. Or
that's possible.
Before that.
But, Sawyer, you clearly had more than 1 channel. With these billion references you constantly spit out, you had more than 1 channel. Come on now.
I can't argue with that. Anyway, they show up on the beach, and we get that nice scene of, like, all the hugging and reconciling. And I don't like how Lost does this, because every time people reunite like this, it's always these distant shots and, like, no dialogue. And, like, I want to see the dialogue. That's what I want when people reunite.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to change that format.
I know. At this point, I'm used to it, but, like...
Well, they will change that format when the reuniting isn't happy. I will say that.
Oh, well... At least we have that.
That's like when when they met up in the 70s again, like when Jack and Kate.
Yeah, that was just awkward.
Yeah.
They find all of Roger's beer, which that is a Roger moment.
Yep. And so Hurley will make a thing saying, "Oh, this beer is older than Rocky 3, maybe older than Rocky 2. Actually, it is 1 year younger than Rocky 5." So, that's interesting, because Rocky 5 was 1990, and I believe they wiped out Dharma in 91.
Yeah, at first because when I first saw this, I was like, oh, Dharma stuff from all the way from the 70s, and then I was like, wait a second, Dharma was wiped out in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's part of why the car's still working isn't too crazy, because it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, it's like a 12, 13-year-old rusted car, not a 30-year-old rusted car.
Yeah. Anyway, they try to get Roger's body out, and the skull falls down, which is leads to a funny joke later. So then we get Charlie talking to Desmond, asking about when he's gonna die, and they get interrupted by Sawyer coming in bitching at them.
Yeah, he's like, you took my stuff. It's like, well, it wasn't yours to begin with. And he's like, well, it was mine when I took it. It's like, well, yeah, now it's theirs that they took it. That's, by your own logic, you have lost.
Yeah, and Desmond apologizes for drinking the scotch, which Sawyer is so mad at, and all I can say
Desmond
is that,
deserved that scotch.
That, out of everybody here, Desmond had the most right to drink that.
Yes.
Anyway, so they're trying to...
So Sawyer is going to go to Hurley because Hurley also drank some of the scotch and he's mad.
Right. And they're, tipping over the van, but Sawyer gets there. And instead we get Hurley hugging him and Jin hugging him, which, like, even with Sawyer, that's nice to see. That's what I didn't get during the big reuniting scene.
Yeah.
Reunion scene, that is.
Yeah, and they're like, well, you can help us because you can have some of the beer. So it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. That is a stable arrangement.
Yeah. So
And
we also just I like
and Locke.
Kate just fills in Saeed and Locke about everything that happened.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's nice that somebody's talking about the important things.
Yeah, like those are the people you go to for the rescue mission. It doesn't end up going that well, but that's who I would go to.
Yeah, and she says she wants to go get help because, yeah, you gotta tell Danielle what you found out.
Oh yeah. Anyway, then we have a scene where they're pulling out Roger's body and doing everything, and Hurley says, don't disrespect the dead. That he had friends and a family. I'm like,
I'm like, no, fuck this guy.
He had no friends, and his family
even
killed
before
him.
Even before that, I love that, like, Sawyer goes in looking at the beer, and then he's like, holy shit, there's a human head in here, and Hurley's just like, oh, that's just Roger.
It's so great.
Anyway, the car doesn't start, and Sawyer's also, like, complaining about how bad the beer is. Still drinking it, of course. And we have the conversation about how Hurley wants hope. Sawyer thinks there's no hope.
Yeah.
And that even leads to Hurley having a prayer, which makes Sawyer throw a beer at him.
So Hurley gets an idea to start it. But then we get also just a funny thing of Sawyer teaching Jin some English.
Yeah. He says, the things you need to tell a woman, which that's a Sawyer perspective, but funny.
I mean...
And we also get Sawyer calling Hurley Jumbotron, which we get Hurley calling Sawyer Redneck Man.
Oh, love it. That's, sorry, Sawyer, but Hurley just stopped doing nicknames, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Sawyer, accepts it. He dishes it out. He doesn't complain when he gets it back.
Yeah. So then we have a really long scene of them pushing the car down the hill to start it, and then, yay, it works.
Yeah, I mean, that was nice for Hurley, and it seemed very stupid, very dangerous, kind of metal that they were doing it anyway, and Charlie was like, I'm riding shotgun. Like Hurley explained it to Charlie, they really did stare death in the face and say, fuck you.
Yeah. Also, it's so funny, the camera angles, they really try and make that hill look so steep, but if you see if you see how Sawyer and Jin are standing, the camera has angled them at a 45-degree angle compared to where they were 1 second ago.
Yeah, and if we're talking about the visuals, right at the end of the attempt, they do this really shitty digital slow motion where it's it just makes the frame rate go super slow.
Yeah. And
also, just the way they edited it, it looks like they're going to hit the rocks in a second, and then there's 5 or 10 more seconds before they have the Hurley turn on the car.
Yeah. Anyway, then we have Locke, Saeed, and Kate meeting up with Rousseau.
I mean, there's also this whole montage of Sawyer being sad and lonely, but we can skip that.
Oh, right, yeah, there was that montage. I completely forgot about it. It was...
But yeah, they get to Danielle, and she's like, I need your help, because the girl who helped me escape was 16, and her name was Alex, which, this is one of those scenes that, you know exactly how the scene is going to go, because, it has to, just because, it's perfect.
Yeah. So, then we get some off-island stuff.
Yeah, so this is Naomi, huh?
Yeah, Naomi Dorrit. She is leading the freighter team, and it was funny that you were saying, I don't know what this pilot has anything to do with anything, but yeah, the pilot was part of the whole Miles and Charlotte and Daniel thing, so he's part of the freighter team, you can see.
See, the thing is, Naomi and Frank Lapidus, the thing about them is that I don't see them in the 70s arc. Maybe they just survive the island, or survive the tanker thing, and they get back to the rest of the world like Jack and Kate do. But, I mean, maybe they just die. Who am I to say?
Yes, and also, who else is planning this mission but Matthew Abaddon, the same weird guy who was helping Locke.
So, now it's like, does he work for Widmore? I thought he was an other. But maybe he used to be one, but he sided with Widmore. I don't really get. Look, during this whole thing, my idea of the factions gets really confused.
It's very confusing.
Because it seems like it's just others versus Widmore, but there are all these little things that make me feel confused about it.
Yeah.
So logic would dictate that this is just he's working for Widmore.
Yes. So then we see Miles doing another.
Miles is
fake ghost
he's
thing.
talking with Hank from Breaking Bad.
Yes.
And he wants him to tell his cremated son that he always loved him. And
so he just lies and it's like, yep, he did it. He knows.
Miles, it's pretty clear that Miles talks to where the corpse is. That just seems like it was implicit in general. So he just has to lie here.
Yeah, and then Naomi shows up and is like, hey, you're going to find out everything about this dude. And he does it, so they're like, hey, you're going to come work for us, to which he's like, what? I don't even know you. This is weird. And they're like, well, the pay's over $1 million. So
yeah, Miles, he wants that cash.
Yes.
And so with the dead guy that Miles had to look at for Naomi, that was one of the things that confused me. So this guy was delivering to Widmore what seems like the evidence that Widmore faked the plane, the fake plane there. Why would he be delivering that to Widmore?
I am confused on that myself.
Did Widmore have him killed, or did Widmore want his information, but then he got killed?
Well, it's weird because Lapidus also came in with the information that he knew the thing was faked, but instead of killing him, Widmore hired him. So,
well, I think there's a distinction because Lapidus, he has personal information and a personal connection that told him, whereas this guy seemed like he was more doing an investigation.
Yeah, it seemed like the investigation stuff that Tom had also had access to.
Yeah, so maybe it's if you had the investigation, I would have thought you'd go to the authorities, but it said he was trying to deliver them to Widmore, he was just going to confront him, which is yeah, that would get you killed. Widmore is a Bond villain.
Yes. So, but then as Miles is leaving, he gets grabbed by a different set of people, and
so are these guys just people who work for the others?
I am not going to answer that question.
Oh God damn it! All right, then are they working for
I'm not gonna answer who they're working for.
Okay, I know, but I need to throw out more possibilities. I mean, they're clearly against Widmore. If they're not the others, then the Hanso Institute you've told me might end up being important. But other than that, I have no idea. And they say stuff about okay.
I'll say the most important thing they say is what lies in the shadow of the statue.
Yeah. Is that just Jacob?
Yes.
Yeah, alright. So they're clearly alluding to something, but I don't know why they know. And I mean, you would think the others are the ones who know about Jacob. And they say, if he goes with them, he can learn everything. Where, I mean, I know how Miles eventually learns everything, so that's not
Well, going to the island did let him learn about his dad, and I guess his powers were just that he was born on the island. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, but, I mean, I know how he does, so I know he's not going to go with these guys. But then it's I don't know, okay, yeah, this is confusing, I'll just move on. Although, I should mention that, didn't Naomi tell him, they need to find somebody who's difficult to find on the island? I don't know if that's Richard or Jacob or what, and the island has a lot of dead people, and this man is why they're dead. I don't think that's really how Miles' power works, is the thing.
I mean, I have to assume it's better than nothing.
I guess, but the thing is, okay, I don't know if they're talking about, Ben or Richard or Jacob. But let's say, like, Miles knows about their last moments. And their last moments, like, they're not going to be able to tell Miles where whichever guy he's looking for currently is.
I guess. I mean, we saw, like, in the 70s that just from walking over the graves of some soldiers, that he's like, okay, they were U.S. military, and they died of radiation poisoning, so there's a bomb here, like...
I guess. Well, either way, I know Miles is just going to end up joining the squad and be awesome.
Yes. So anyway, then he goes and gives the money back to Hank from Breaking Bad, and is like, well, you should have told your kid you loved him when he was alive.
Yeah, and I think that does kind of come from how Bram and that, whoever they are, they kind of needled Miles about, like, oh, you're saying you just want more money, but you're not going to fill that void of missing your dad, and that sort of incites Miles to think a bit more about his dad, and then he goes to the guy, because now he's thinking about how he doesn't know if his dad loved him, and he's like, you know what, fuck you, Hank.
Yeah. Anyway, back on the island, they found the ping pong table from the hatch.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
And
this is pretty much going to be the last lighthearted plot line in Lost.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, Sawyer is continuing to maul about how people take his stuff. And there's the stuff where, like, Paulo is like... Well, actually, it comes... give me a minute, I'll talk about that. But we get the search squad walking, and, you know, Saeed and Locke bicker about whether or not this whole Go North thing makes any sense. Then he sees a cow, and he sees the eye patch guy at the flame. And anyway, after that, we get Sawyer, who has the ping pong ball, and he wants to trade with them. And we get Nikki saying, like, it wasn't really yours. And Sawyer's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And this is something I want to mention because, yeah...
That's the audience reaction.
Sawyer is a shitter, yeah. And sure, in universe, you would basically know everyone. You wouldn't not know who someone was just because they weren't a main character. But as a viewer, I totally get why, like, people hated Nikki and Paulo when they were introduced here. Because, yeah, it just makes you go, like, who the hell are you? You don't matter.
Anyway, so he says, Kate, we'll play ping pong, and if I win, I get my stuff back, and if you win, then there's no nicknames for a week.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, I would have said forever, but...
Yeah. So let me see the search party. They're scoping out the flame and everything, and then Rousseau's like, I'm not about this, discovering new things on the island life. I'm out.
Yeah, which, kind of fair, but we do need this information. Then Saeed walks up, and just Mikhail straight up shoots him. And what I find interesting is that Mikhail immediately shouts about how he was allowed to stay here, they had a deal, which, like, wow. Only even knowing that there was one person, not even knowing that anybody else besides Saeed was coming, he was immediately, like, committing to this lie that he was the last
remember,
member.
Miss Clue had shown up and told him about how Sawyer and Kate had escaped. So I think he was prepared for that. Maybe they would come and show up.
All right. I mean, I guess I can see it. It's just, like, it surprised me. That was some quick thinking.
Yes. So, Mikhail, he's treating Saeed's gunshot wound and tells a whole fake story of joining Dharma, which I have to believe is, other than the part where he joins Dharma and some of the others, was probably true.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I definitely knew I'd seen him because I knew he had, like, helped Ben. He'd, like, showed Ben footage, like, they were looking at when the plane crashed, getting the information on people, and they showed Juliet that her sister was okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, when I saw this plotline, I was confused. I was like, is he actually just a Dharma guy? Is it just part of his deal that he'll let Ben use the communication station? Or is, like, he just completely lying? And I think what should have been the clue for me is that he said that... Well, actually, did we already get the flashback with, like, Juliet and Ben coming here?
No, Juliet's flashback ended still just at the morgue with her dead ex-husband.
Okay, so we haven't gone there yet, but in in the chronologically lost order, what should have been the clue for me is that he claimed that the satellite dish had been broken for years.
Yeah, even though, as we can see...
Yeah, it only just broke.
Yeah.
But anyway, he says, he was in the Soviet army, and, yeah, all of that.
He has the accent to back it up.
Meanwhile, Locke starts playing chess with the computer.
Well, before that, he sees the cats scratching at the carpet, which is how Saeed knows that there's a secret underground thing.
I don't think... No, that's not how Saeed knew it.
What do you mean that's not how Saeed knew it?
No. The scene where Saeed finds it, he literally goes like, I searched everywhere, I found nothing, and he sort of exasperatedly throws up the carpet to say, like, there's nothing here, and then, like, by complete coincidence, the hatch is right there.
No. In that scene, Locke is saying, I searched everywhere, and Saeed says, no, you didn't, because he knew there was an underground thing from the cat scratching at it.
Oh, I thought Saeed was saying he searched everywhere.
No, Locke was saying that, and then Saeed's like, well, you're wrong. And of course,
I totally misread it.
The cat is named Nadia, just for...
Yep, just named after the greatest Russian athlete ever. I mean, Mikhail says she's the greatest athlete ever, but you know how Russians are about their athletes. But to be fair, it's also how Americans and, like, every country is about their athletes.
I mean, Russian gymnasts are pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely... Because that's one of those things where... America and Russia really want to beat each other's asses at the Olympics.
Yeah, I do like how the Cold War is continuing on and watching, like, 15-year-old girls perform, like, gymnastic dances.
Yeah, except China is also up there too now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, when my mom was really young, she almost got recruited to train to be a gymnast in China.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think the flashbacks were for this one?
Saeed getting tortured in France.
Correct.
Because it was a Saeed episode, and I know that's the season 3 one. I don't think that really hugely tied in.
I think it has to do with why Saeed didn't just kill Mikhail at the end. Like,
yeah, but even then, that's kind of a loose connection.
Yeah, and there was also the fact that there was a cat.
Like, you could do a story about, like, choosing whether or not to kill someone, but the flashback is about torture and admitting your wrongs, and it's not really about choosing whether or not to kill someone.
Well, I think it has to do with sort of the speech that the girl gives at the end, where of like, oh, we're all capable of doing terrible things, but it's important to just not do them instead or whatever.
Yeah.
So
and it's kind of funny how then when Mikhail does die, it's in like it's not in like a we're capable of terrible things way, but more like they just casually used him as a guinea pig.
I mean, to be fair, they were not so happy that Locke was doing that,
yeah.
But
oh yeah. Well, what, Locke would do something without running it by the others?
That would have disastrous consequences.
Anyway.
Then we get Locke playing chess on the computer.
Oh yeah, that was when Locke was.
Yeah.
But then later, we get Hurley's attitude before they start playing ping pong just makes it very obvious that Sawyer's about to get his ass beat. So
then Mikhail also says the thing that, there's an underwater beacon that guides the submarine back. But...
is that true? I think that's true.
That is true. But we know that the submarine can still come back because Tom came back on the submarine, so whatever.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, Saeed just like, and we killed one of them, and Mikhail's just like, okay, I know you know, I know you know, I know you know, I know you know.
Let's just fight.
And all of that. And Mikhail really didn't have great odds. Like, it's 3 against 1, and Saeed kind of just gets some good punches him, and Kate points the gun at him. Like, that was a bad plan. You should have ambushed them.
Yeah, and then so Saeed goes.
And what I thought, because you can't beat 3 people as one person. So what I thought was that he was maybe stalling to wait for someone, like wait for someone else to come with guns. But instead, like, the woman was just hiding in the basement.
Yeah. So yeah, they go to the basement and they see that there's C4 rigged up, all around the...
Don't forget, Locke literally has Mikhail tied up, and then he looks at the computer, and it's beeping, saying it's his turn, and he just fucking goes back to keep playing chess.
Yes, but he wins though.
What? But what the fuck, Locke? Like, seriously. Like, as soon as you see that happen, you just know that Mikhail's going to escape and get him. Like, god damn it, Locke, there's a time and a place, and when you have to watch the hostage is not the time. Like, out of every decision Locke makes here, this is the dumbest, because it's not even like, oh, Locke makes different kinds of decisions from everyone else. He has different priorities. He believes in the island. No, it's literally just stupid.
Yeah. Anyway, but he wins the chess game, and we see Pierre Chan giving a video message of all the different kinds of things you can do. To be fair, he does at least try to communicate with the outside world once. I think after him pressing the button to try and communicate, I think after that is when Locke decides to make solely bad decisions.
Alright. Anyway.
And then he gets taken at knife point, because of course he does.
Also, I kind of thought that, like, the place would blow up just as soon as he won at chess.
Yeah, when I was first watching this, I was like, oh, when you win, it blows up. And then it's like, oh, no, it just gives you the option to blow it up.
Come to think of it, we don't see it. I almost think that when you actually say hostiles are coming, it doesn't even blow up. It probably just says, do you want to blow up? And Locke just said yes.
Yeah, probably. So anyway, the woman in the basement is Miss Clue, and they do a whole thing of, oh, I've got a hostage and you've got a hostage, so let's just exchange them.
And she starts shouting in Russian and gets Mikhail to shoot her.
Yeah, I looked up what the dialogue is in the Russian, and it's very boring. It's literally, you need to shoot me, Mikhail. No, I don't want to. No, you have to shoot me. That's it.
Yep.
And also, this is really funny, because looking back, you know, as we know from the 70s, or I guess this was technically in the 50s, Juliet says that all the others have to learn Latin. This would have been a perfect place to have them speaking Latin as a secret thing to introduce that. Like,
but then you would have to tell the actors how to speak Latin, and they would sound terrible, probably.
Well, everyone sounds terrible speaking Latin. Nobody's a native Latin speaker anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Well, supposedly the others are.
Yeah, anyway.
I mean, at least Mikhail sounds like proper speaking Russian, at least
but he actually doesn't. I read that in Russian they had to... Most of... I believe Lost is only subtitled in Russian, but for that scene specifically, they had actual Russian speakers come in and dub over the voices so that it didn't sound terrible.
Huh.
Yeah. So...
Anyway...
Then we get back, and Hurley has destroyed Sawyer in ping pong.
Yeah. He just completely destroyed him, and we get the implication that he practiced a lot when he was in the mental hospital.
Yeah, and at his mom's house.
Yep. And Hurley's like, yo, Kate's gonna be okay, and Sawyer's just like, fuck off, dude.
Well, he's about to say, you know, like, fuck off, and he's about to do a nickname, and then it's like, no, he's...
Yep.
You have to use my actual name.
And anyway, we get Mikhail being like, I'm not gonna hesitate to kill you. Danielle's like, let's kill him then.
Yeah, Danielle shows up and she's like, okay, you're done with the investigating others' life? Okay, I'm back then. Jungle life is where it's at.
Yep. And then Locke comes back, and it blows up behind them.
Yeah. So...
Why exactly?
What do you mean, why?
Why'd he blow it up?
He'll explain his reason later.
I guess. Like, I know it's clear that there is a reason, but it's just like
it's not a very good one, I'll tell you that.
How could that be possibly true?
It's, again, this is... People got really frustrated with Season 3 when they were watching it, including me, because I was like, you know, I was like Saeed, being like, that was the chance to communicate with the outside world, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like, man, so many things in the plot I have a way easier time accepting because I know that the 70s arc is going to happen and the tanker is going to come. So they're like, oh, we could have communicated with the outside world. And I'm just like, yeah, But the plot's
exactly.
gonna get us there,
It does
so
ease
that
the
wasn't
blow
gonna matter.
knowing that it will happen. But when you're, 2.5 seasons deep, and the most outside world connection was some dudes in the North Pole getting one signal from the hatch explosion, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
there's whenever you see, I watch a lot of reactions to the show. Usually around this point, and maybe in the next episode specifically that we'll get to. A lot of people, they have the thought of, they're never getting off this fucking island, are they? Like, it seems so impossible that they keep destroying any semblance of forward progress towards that goal.
I mean, I guess now that, because I was thinking in terms of the base, like the base could have been useful. The base had valuable stuff in it, and why destroy it? But I guess if we think of it more in terms of their one chance of communicating with the outside world, that's already a Locke thing that he always tries to stop them from being able to do that because he wants to stay on the island.
Yeah, I also feel like they didn't want another hatch scenario. Like, because we saw that, they had all these folders and folders of Dharma stuff. And they're like, you know what? No. Here, it was to communicate with the outside world. Its weird thing is that it has a weird chess computer, and now it's blown up, and we're done. So we're moving on to something else.
Yeah. They didn't want constant travel back and forth to another base. Well, I guess this is a few days away, but... And they didn't want the constant focus on the mysteries of the base. And they also probably didn't want to explain all the Dharma stuff yet.
So, let me cut to where would obviously be the next episode normally, due to an eye-opening shot of Claire waking up to some breakfast in bed from Charlie.
Yeah, so I want to say something about this Claire plotline, and it's really nice to have a Claire plotline that's actually focused on her and isn't about taking care of Aaron.
Yeah, it's the only one.
Yeah, and it sucks to say that it wasn't that great. It wasn't bad, but at this point it's hard to say that Claire is, like, not even a bad character, but she's just not that entertaining of a character.
Yeah, so anyway, then we have Charlie, after the whole Dharma Band thing, he's like, you know what, yeah, let's just seize the day. Let's have fun with this.
Let's make this happen.
Yeah, so then you have Saeed and Locke arguing over where to go, and Locke being like, well, I didn't know about the C4. Maybe you should have told me. But, of course, he knew about the fucking C4.
Yeah. I mean, he literally brought some.
Yeah, and then Locke is like, well, we really should shoot this guy, because remember how he shot his friend who didn't want to be in this exact scenario? Like...
Yeah. This whole time I was just thinking, like... Locke, this is why you, tell the others, hey, there's this computer that gives us this option. What do you think we should do? But, yeah, he knows they won't agree with destroying the chance of communication.
Yeah, so Charlie and Claire get to this whole picnic, and then Desmond's like, no, Charlie, no picnic for you.
No, Desmond, he's like, Charlie, come boar hunting with me. Like, that's just what you should do with me today. And it's like, I'm pretty sure Charlie can immediately tell that Desmond wants him to not be near whatever will get him killed.
What really made this thing so weird to me is that at this point Charlie is 100% believing in what Desmond has to say, right? Desmond could just say, do not go try and get these birds. Like, you will die if you do that. Just sit here on the beach.
And I'll go get the bird.
Yeah. Anyways.
Or the thing is that's weird is that he said, Charlie, come help me hunt boars, which would imply, okay, Charlie can go do other stuff while Claire can do this whole bird plan. But then Charlie spends a while trying to convince Claire to not do the bird plan.
Yeah, it's really...
What does that matter? What does it matter if she does it as long as Charlie isn't involved?
Yeah, it felt like it was leading into a thing of Claire doing this would put Claire in danger somehow. She slips in the rocks and then Charlie goes and rescues her and he does.
But we know Charlie's the one who might die.
Yeah, I think it would be, but I think in that kind of scenario, if it would be well, I would die, but I would save Claire, it would probably do it. So maybe he was if it was trying to avoid that kind of scenario, but they don't say that, so it's really weird. Anyway, then we have a scene where Claire sees the birds. And is like, oh, I know how to get off this island. And I have to believe that ABC ran that line in the commercials for this episode a million times.
I'm sure.
And it's really funny because there's like this.
So this will go nowhere, right?
No. So there is this. I mean, like, even if researchers found this note, well,
how would they find
first off, one, Whitmore would probably cover it up, and two, how the fuck are they gonna find this place? Yeah. But there's a funny thing. So there's this like 8-hour long, sort of piss take on Lost on YouTube that I've watched, and to be fair, a lot of the points he brings up are fair, but a lot of the other points are just stuff to do with interviews that the writers made as they were making this series. And he's like, oh, they lied in this interview, and they lied in this interview. But if you're a normal person and you just watch the show, then you won't care that they lied in those interviews because you won't read them.
And the thing about lying interviews is, like, plans change. Sometimes it's not even their fault that plans change.
To be fair, one of the big things about the plans changing is that they did repeatedly lie and say they had the entire series thought out from the beginning.
Okay, but...
Anyway, but a lot of the complaints were also about what the ad promos were for the episodes, which I'm like, that's 100% unfair, because the people who made the show do not make the commercials. The network makes the commercials, and the writers make the show. Like...
I mean... it just reminds me how you talked about how much the commercials hyped up the tattoo episode.
Oh my god, yeah. There's also... Anyways. So then we get a little, another webisode thing of Jack and Ben playing chess.
This is a webisode?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was thinking at the end of this that it would make way more sense if it's like that's the first time we see Jack at the Dharma base.
Yeah, but anyways.
But yeah, so Ben and Jack are playing chess, and they're talking about it must be strange. And he says, like, the island might not want you to leave. And Ben says,
one thing that's clear is Ben says he intends to honor their deal. Like,
yeah, and he says like, Jack, you may end up wanting to come back. And
we know that's true.
We know that Ben is kind of spot on there. But anyway, I have interesting thoughts about Jack's situation here, because for one thing, Jack is just kind of chilling and happy here, and like obviously as we see at the very end, he's playing football. And on some level I get that, because like if they're letting you be free there, then like you make the most of the situation you're in. You adapt to your environment. You're not going to sit around moping because you know that they kill people. You're just kind of accept what your situation is and have some enjoyment. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel about Jack being totally willing to just leave the island while everyone else will still be stuck there. And maybe he won't be. Maybe once we get, reunited with Kate, the way he'll act will actually totally fit how I see Jack. But he just feels like somebody who would want to save everybody.
I feel like at this point, Jack, again, his reason for doing the surgery was that he needed to get off the island, right? Like, the person he cared about the most, arguably, Kate, he sees her as in love with someone else. So he's kind of...
That's true.
Done. I do believe he thinks that if he leaves, he can somehow get back. Like, not himself get back, but, like, get authorities involved or something. And also, in this episode specifically, I think Jack would be pretty happy because since Tom is back, then we know that the submarine has just arrived, right? Because Tom would have come back on it, which means that, hey, tomorrow morning, that submarine's taking off.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we can talk more about that at the end when it's most relevant. But we get Kate talking to Danielle, and Danielle makes the point that, like, she hasn't seen Alex in so long, knows Alex wouldn't remember her. She's scared of what will happen, and yeah. That is fucked up. Hope that works out for her.
Yeah. So Mikhail then tells the group about the submarine, but it's like, oh, ever since the sky turned purple, we can't come back on it. Which is a lie. Because Tom comes back. What do you mean?
So then he says that, like, you aren't capable of understanding why the island is special. Only people on the list can. I don't think that's true. Because we know that Locke is. We even know that Jack ends up believing the island is special in season 5. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the list makes sense, and I think it's probably Jacob who makes the list, so, like, Jacob knows who fits. But I don't know. At the same time, like, I feel like the list... The thing is, they took people from the tailies, and they didn't really take people from the main gang. So, like... I don't know, I just think whoever's on the list seems really, really arbitrary, and it doesn't seem to me like they really took the most special people. It just seems to me like they took who they could get. And
it will be vaguely explained later, that and you can try and extrapolate reasons for the list and everything. It's still a weird thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean... So he implies, like, Ben isn't the guy who makes the list, but then he stops himself, but... Yeah, the writers are starting to allude to things.
Yeah.
So right now, were they thinking of Richard, or were they thinking of Jacob?
I think they were thinking of Jacob, because when Carl is being tortured in the thing, Jacob pops up in a bunch of imagery stuff.
I wonder when Richard first shows up. Like, he could show up soon. We're at the Dharma base. But on the other hand, he could also not show up soon. I don't know.
I think he'll show up soon. It's like, this isn't a special thing. I'm like, oh, it won't be like, who's this mysterious Richard guy? It'll just be like Richard will just show up as someone who's there.
Oh yeah, no, that's. Oh yeah. Oh wait, we already saw him in Julia's flashback.
Yeah, we saw him in the flashback as part of the others.
So I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be some crazy reveal, but like, I just he's a cool character. I want to see more of him.
Yeah. So yeah, the Mikhail, he makes a point of being like, oh, I know all about you, and gets stopped just short of saying Locke was paralyzed.
Yep. And anyway, they get to those sound barrier things that are such fake science, and yeah, Mikhail definitely wants them to walk straight into it.
Are you going to complain about fake science when they also
yes
when they use this sonar fence to stop the smoke monster?
Yes, I will complain.
Okay. Anyway, then we get Claire and Jin setting up a trap for the birds, and Sun shows up and is like, "Oh, this is my mother's greatest fear, that I'd be doing fisherman work." Like,
yeah. So this is a Claire episode, right?
Yes.
So her flashback would just be like,
it was emo Claire.
I don't know. Yeah, and like her mom was in the accident, wasn't she?
Yes, and it's where we find out that Jack and Claire are half siblings.
So, oh yeah, oh hell yeah. Oh, so Jack is all the way in the other's base. Like, I gotta get that connections. I don't know how they're gonna figure it out, but I gotta get it.
Well, hey,
Anyway.
Jack has run through the jungle, chasing after his dad. Maybe Claire will. Maybe Smoke Monster will show Claire some visions or something.
Yeah, but
that's the only possible way. Is for.
But then when that happens, she won't know it's also Jack's dad.
Exactly. It's like they both have to see it at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure that can happen. But anyway,
the only connection
between the only connection between that flashback and this plotline I can think of is like
stuff about hope and
Claire
guilt and
well,
stuff.
no, my thought was like Claire losing somebody, someone dying, and like now she doesn't want Charlie to die once she understands the situation.
Yeah. Well, that part of the I believe the episode just ends with her, or the flashback ends with her pregnant right before she gets on the plane, talking to her deceased mom, or not deceased, sorry, comatose. But there is her last scene with Christian. Is Christian giving some speech about the difference between hope and guilt and everything. So yeah, I think that's vaguely how it ties. Again, it's season 3. They tie in very loosely.
Yeah. Anyway,
Desmond ruins their plans with a gunshot.
Yep. And I'm confused at why he needed to do this, because
I'm like, why wouldn't their plan have
if they
worked?
did catch a bird here, no one would have to go looking for one somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe it would be that the bird they would capture wouldn't have been tagged, or did it have a tag on it?
So then
I don't know.
But then he didn't really change anything.
I don't know. This is a weird storyline.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is one of those storylines that, like, kills time. I mean, the only real result of it is that now Claire knows that Charlie's gonna die.
Yeah. So then, Mikhail's saying, "Oh, the sonar fence hasn't worked in years. It's fine." So Locke just shoves him through, and we see that last time we've seen this fence work on people, it was set to a low, knockout strength. Here it's set to, I believe, maximum.
Yeah, that seemed like a pretty
brutal.
rough way to die, but he does thank Locke. And they want to go over it, and they see that Locke has some C4, and he is just, bullshitting, saying, "Oh, I guess I did know."
Yeah, which is just like, oh, Locke, why? Just stop. I get that you want to stay, but why can't you let other people try and leave, right?
Yeah. So, here's the thing that I only realized after finishing the episodes.
Uh-huh.
They use the tree trunks to get over the pylons.
Correct.
What is their escape plan?
I mean, I don't know.
That seems very poorly thought through.
Well, I mean, they could just cut down another tree and just, carry it the distance to the pylon.
I mean, I feel like at that point the others are gonna be trying to get you. You got to get out fast. I don't think this is gonna go well.
Well, they didn't think it through anyways.
Yep.
Well, they could always just try and take one of the others' boats to just get around it. I don't know, maybe.
If they can manage it, I mean, they do have guns.
Yes.
Anyway.
So we have a scene of Claire being mad at Charlie about stuff.
Yeah. And she says, "Oh, I don't want my baby to be around a liar," which, I mean...
Well, you picked the wrong island, Claire.
He lied about stuff before. There was the whole drugs thing, but now this is the deal.
If I had to pick one lie to be told, it would be this, as opposed to the whole drugs thing.
You really can't blame Charlie for not telling her about this.
Yeah. Anyway, then we get another... I mean, technically it's off island, but it's on another island of... I believe it's taking off from Guam, I think. Guam or Fiji?
I thought they said Fiji.
Okay, I was probably wrong. It's Fiji.
Anyway, Michael is here. He makes friends with somebody who's working here.
Minkowski,
and he has to check
with
in.
Naomi.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a crate delivered to him, which I'm sure is a bomb.
Yeah, and Miles immediately is like, "Oh, you're up to some shit," but it's like, "Don't worry, everyone's up to some shit, so it doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miles is just great. And then he talks to Tom on the phone, and he's like, Tom mentions flying can't be fun for him now. And then, he has to use the package on the open sea, and he calls out Michael for being scared to kill people he knows, but he's like, "You're gonna save the lives of everyone on the island." I still, don't know what Widmore is trying to do, or how it would actually fuck everything up that badly.
You'll see.
But
to be fair, this is also Tom is, very loyal to Ben, and I think Ben sees Widmore definitely as a complete 100% enemy to eliminate. So.
Yeah. So then the boat gets going. The Frank starts talking to Naomi, and then he comes to Michael and is like, "Woman, am I right?" But here's the thing I just noticed here. Is that a tattoo on Michael's arm? and I think there was a yin and yang symbol on it, which that's Asian symbolism. I feel really uncomfortable by not knowing how he got this tattoo or what it means.
Right. Anyways, that Lapidus is saying "Oh, have you ever heard about Flight 815? I don't think it actually crashed there. I think it's out there. What if we found some of those people alive?" And it's just
yeah,
irony of the scene.
Yep. Anyway, they make the
whole lean-to set
rig
up
to climb over, and Kate makes it over.
Yeah, Kate makes it over, Locke makes it over, and then off-screen, Saeed and Russo make it over.
And then we get
then we see Claire going to Desmond, being like,
Claire
I want answers, and she sees
Charlie
him.
and Desmond argue.
Yeah.
She follows him. He gets the bird. He's like, yeah, Charlie was gonna die there.
Yeah.
How would Charlie have known to search here?
I don't know. This entire plotline is weird.
It's really on some level I'm so refreshed to see Claire not defined by Aaron, but then on the other hand she's also just kind of defined by Charlie here. But either way, it's a really weird plotline.
Yeah, but anyway, so she learns about the whole Charlie's gonna die thing, and then so she and Charlie write a nice message to attach to the bird.
Yeah, it's very poignant. I'm sure no one will ever read it.
Yep. And then we see the search party. They've made it to just at the outskirts of the barracks, and they see Jack running right towards them, but he's catching a football.
What the hell? Yep. And man, in the end, we already talked about Jack's decision here, and he is God damn it, Claire loves Sawyer. I just want to get out of here. Fuck this.
Claire?
Shit.
Whoa, that's.
Oh well, Kate.
Yeah.
Kate. All right.
That's a wild plot line there.
Anyway, so honestly, you could just be like, fuck it, I'm leaving. But it's gonna be some drama because they are definitely gonna be like, how could you play football with these people? How could you leave us? Is he gonna be faced if when they call him out on that, he's gonna be like, okay, I'll go back to the base with you, or is he just gonna be like, yeah, I want to leave, you go back? At the same time, again, they can't escape. I almost feel like I don't know what Kate and the others are gonna do. I don't know if they're gonna get captured or if they're gonna take someone hostage. I don't know how it's all gonna play out.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is a point, again, we're about halfway through season 3, and I believe that officially within the show this was the exact half point of the show, the Claire episode. I believe it was the exact middle point of the hours produced for television. Obviously, we are at episode 66 out of 101, so we're a little past that. But, yeah, so for people watching, this was, the halfway point, even if they didn't know it. And, it's this kind of thing about Lost where it feels like the first 3 seasons are kind of like a marathon, and the last 3 seasons are a sprint each, just with how the pacing is. Season 4 especially due to the writer's strike, which that couldn't be helped. That wasn't their fault.
Right. How long is season 4?
Oh, I believe season 4 was, I think technically 16 episodes, but that's because the finale was 3 hours long. So it was really 14 episodes.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was 10 episodes less. From what I heard, what they did was, because obviously they knew the writer's strike was coming at the time. So they wrote apparently as much as they could before they had to go on strike, and then they tried to cram in as much as they could once they got back from the strike as fast as possible. But
I see.
Yeah, you still missed 10 weeks there. It's to be fair, it's better than how some other shows fared, like say Heroes, which just died from the writer's strike, or even something like The Office, where a bunch of the actors on that show were also writers, so they had to just stop the show because like Steve Carell was in the writers in guild, so you can't make the show with the main character not showing up for several episodes.
Anyway, yeah. So, I don't know what expectations I'm coming into the next episode with, other than some drama is going to happen with Jack.
Yeah, it's gonna be drama. He's gonna see Kate again. I mean, technically that's a little spoiler, but you think they're not gonna have him reunite with Kate? Come on.
I mean, I know Jack isn't leaving, And I mean, now we know that a Jack and Claire plotline is going to finally happen with them finding out about their mutual dad. So, I mean, I know he's not going to actually leave. I'm just, I gotta see how it plays out.
Yes. So we will see that next time, and I hope you will join us as well, where we will be covering episode 67, December 10th to the 11th, and episode 68, December 11th to the 12th.